One deal flipped the entire energy industry on its head. 60 gigawatt-hours, the largest battery order in all of human history. And we're not talking about lithium. We're talking about the technology that leading experts were calling science fiction just 2 years ago. The most incredible part, at the core of this battery is a substance you sprinkle on your food every single day. Plain table salt. And if you think you know how this story ends, you're wrong. To understand why this discovery matters so much, you first need to understand how lithium took over the entire world, and why that takeover started showing cracks. Before the early 90s, batteries were heavy, bulky, and drained fast. A camcorder held a charge for about an hour. Laptops were thick bricks that barely survived a single meeting. The idea that a phone could fit in your pocket and run all day felt distant and unrealistic. Old batteries stored significantly less energy while weighing a whole lot more. The shift to lithium changed everything. Battery capacity shot up dramatically. Devices shrank, smartphones got smart, electric vehicles went from concept to reality.
Wireless earbuds, ultra-thin laptops, electric cars on the highway. None of it would exist without lithium chemistry. Why does lithium work so well? 2 reasons. First, lithium particles are among the smallest and lightest of all the elements used in batteries. You can pack an enormous number of them into a very small space. More particles means more stored energy per kilogram. Second, lithium has a powerful natural drive to push electricity through a circuit. The combination of those 2 properties produced a battery that went 30 years without a serious alternative. The world ramped up production. Billions of dollars poured into the industry. Researchers refined the same chemistry year after year, and gradually, the entire industry stopped looking around. It just kept racing forward down the lithium road. When something works that well for that long, people stop asking whether there's something better. And that's exactly when the cracks start to show. In 2016, one of the leading consumer electronics manufacturers released a flagship smartphone to glowing reviews. Pre-orders were massive, and then the phone started catching fire. In pockets, on airplanes, on nightstands. Airlines banned the device. The manufacturer recalled the entire line. Losses came in at around $5 billion, and it became one of the most high-profile failures in the history of consumer electronics. Most people blamed the specific manufacturer, and they did make real engineering mistakes. But here's what got left out of the story. The danger wasn't unique to that phone. It's present in every lithium battery ever made. The liquid inside the lithium battery that carries energy between the poles of the cell is made from flammable materials. Under excessive heat, puncture, or overly aggressive charging, it can ignite. When one cell catches fire, its heat warms the ones next to it. Those ignite and heat the next ones. It spreads like dominoes inside a sealed casing, each cell triggering the next faster than any cooling system can respond. Engineers have a technical term for this process. Everyone else calls it a catastrophe. The problem didn't go away as the technology advanced. In 2026, fires from lithium batteries surpassed electrical wiring fires as the leading cause of fatal blazes in one of the world's largest cities. This isn't a statistic from the past. This is the current reality. There's another problem that doesn't get enough attention. When temperatures drop below freezing, the charged particles inside the lithium cell stop moving smoothly and start depositing on the inner walls as tiny, sharp metallic needles. With every charge cycle, the needles grow. If they grow long enough to connect the 2 poles of the battery, a short circuit occurs. It instantly generates heat. And heat inside a lithium battery, as we already know, only moves in one direction. Even when it doesn't reach a short circuit, the performance losses in cold weather are enormous. At around freezing, a lithium battery loses between 20 and 40% of its range. Not because of a malfunction, simply because it's cold outside.
For an electric vehicle driver in a northern climate, that can mean losing more than 100 kilometers on a winter morning at exactly the moment when every kilometer counts. Engineers have been documenting these problems for decades. They built smarter thermal management systems, wrote better software, but the underlying chemistry never changed. And then came a blow that had nothing to do with science. Between 2020 and 2022, the price of key lithium raw materials increased eightfold, not 8%, but 8 times in just 2 years. Then in 2023, the market reversed sharply, and prices collapsed by more than 70% in a single year. The foundation of clean energy had been built on a commodity that behaved like a speculative asset, unpredictable and uncontrollable. For automakers and governments, this was the moment when the cracks could no longer be ignored. And the answer had been sitting in a research paper published all the way back in the year 2000. Long before lithium became the center of attention, scientists back in the 60s were studying a different element as the future of batteries: sodium. It sits directly below lithium on the periodic table, behaves in a chemically similar way, and is one of the most abundant elements on Earth. It's literally found in table salt. You can find it in the oceans, in the ground, and in practically every kitchen on the planet. The first high-energy rechargeable battery built by a major automaker in 1966 ran on sodium.
It was an impressive concept, but with a fatal flaw. It required an operating temperature of around 300 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead. A brilliant demonstration of science, but not something you could put in a family car. In 1972, a researcher named Stanley Whittingham solved the problem of building a lithium battery that worked at room temperature. Lithium surged ahead, and practically all the world's research money followed. When the first commercial lithium battery hit the market in 1991, the outcome was sealed. Trillions in investment flowed into lithium technology. Sodium got left on the shelf, not because anyone proved it was inferior, but simply because all the momentum was pointing the other way. Sodium had one specific technical problem that nobody could solve. Sodium particles are roughly 35% larger than lithium particles. Inside the battery, those particles have to move in and out of a storage material thousands of times without damaging it. The graphite that lithium uses has perfectly evenly spaced layers. Lithium particles slide between them like a key in a lock, clean, precise, thousands of times without damage. Sodium particles are simply too large. Every time they tried to squeeze through, they push the layers apart and permanently deforms the structure. After a few hundred charge cycles, the battery had degraded so badly it was practically useless. That single materials problem kept sodium out of serious commercial use for more than 40 years. Researchers kept trying, papers kept getting published, but nobody could find a storage material that sodium particles could live inside without destroying it. Until the year 2000, when a research team discovered something completely unexpected and quietly shifted the direction of the entire field. The scientists discovered a form of carbon that looked and behaved completely differently from graphite. Regular graphite at the atomic level is like a perfectly stacked deck of cards. Every layer parallel, evenly spaced, strictly ordered. Sodium particles are too large to slide between those cards without breaking them. Hard carbon is the exact opposite. It's made by heating organic material, plant waste, agricultural byproducts, or even glucose to temperatures between 1000 and 1400 degrees Celsius in a sealed container with no oxygen present. The carbon atoms that come out of this process lock into a permanently disordered arrangement. Irregular gaps, tiny pockets of varying sizes, no neat staking, just a dense, complex internal structure full of spaces large enough to comfortably accommodate sodium particles without breaking down over time. For the first time in 40 years, sodium had a material it could actually work with.
But a laboratory discovery and a product ready for mass production are two completely different things. Hard carbon is porous. Its irregular internal structure, the very thing that makes it useful, also causes it to act like a sponge for moisture. Even a negligible amount of water that gets inside a cell reacts with the liquid within and creates gases that slowly destroy the cell from the inside. At laboratory scale, this can be controlled. At the scale of manufacturing millions of batteries for vehicles and power grids, it was a serious problem that needed a complete solution. This is where the world's largest battery manufacturer invested approximately $1.5 billion over 10 years to turn hard carbon from a promising research finding into a commercially reliable product. The scale of that commitment was extraordinary for a chemistry that most of the industry still viewed as a curiosity. The first major breakthrough was changing the surface chemistry of the hard carbon itself. The parts of the material that naturally attract and hold water were replaced with compounds that actively repel it. The second breakthrough was even more remarkable. A method was developed to control the size of the tiny internal pockets in hard carbon during the manufacturing process with precision down to the scale of individual atoms. Pockets too small, sodium particles can't enter them efficiently enough. Too large, space is wasted that could be storing more charge. Finding that balance and maintaining it at massive production volumes took years of work. The result is a battery called Nextra. And what it delivers surprised even those who had been closely following the development. In a production vehicle, Nextra delivers more than 500 kilometers of range on a single charge, with 80% of that charge reached in just 15 minutes. These aren't theoretical figures from lab conditions. These are the numbers of a battery already being manufactured and deployed at real-world scale. The cycle life sets an entirely new standard. Nextra withstands more than 10,000 full charge and discharge cycles before noticeable degradation begins, roughly 3 times more than the lithium iron phosphate cells it directly competes with. If you charge this battery every single day without a break, it would still be performing reliably 27 years into daily use. Cold weather. This is where sodium does something lithium physically cannot replicate. The liquid inside Nextra stays fluid at temperatures down to -58 degrees Celsius. At -40, the battery retains 90% of its full capacity. A lithium battery at the same temperature barely functions, losing a third or more of its range simply because of the cold air outside. For electric vehicle owners in northern climates, this isn't a minor improvement. It's the difference between a car that works all winter and a car that lets you down exactly when you need it most. Now the price. And this may be the number that changes everything. Sodium-ion cells are produced at roughly $19 per kilowatt-hour. Lithium-ion cells typically cost between $55 and $70 per kilowatt-hour. That's not a small gap. That's a fundamentally different cost structure. And unlike lithium, sodium isn't concentrated in a handful of countries. No single government controls the supply. No sudden shortage can multiply prices overnight. For automakers and governments, that stability is worth just as much as the lower price itself. But does this mean the end of lithium? The honest answer is more interesting than a simple yes or no. Sodium-ion batteries have one limitation they'll likely never fully escape. It comes down to physics. Because sodium particles are heavier and larger than lithium particles, there's a ceiling on how much energy can be packed into a given weight. For electric aviation, where every extra gram directly affects range and payload, that limitation is critical. In consumer electronics, where a battery has to fit inside a device with minimal free space, lithium will almost certainly remain dominant for many years to come. What the industry is actually moving toward isn't a story of one chemistry beating another. It's a partnership of two chemistries, each applied where it genuinely outperforms the other. A battery pack for an electric vehicle has already been created that's divided into two zones, one sodium, one lithium, managed in real time by software. When it's cold outside and the lithium cells are struggling to deliver full power, the sodium zone takes on the load. On a long highway route where maximum range is the priority, lithium takes the lead. Neither chemistry is pushed beyond its strengths. Both are used exactly where they're best, and the vehicle delivers results that neither chemistry could achieve on its own.